Hey everybody, Who Farted 62 here. Going to show you how to rebuild and re-wick a Kanger Protank. This is a Protank 2 actually. Remove the center of the bottom cap. Set this aside. It's still got liquid in it, so I'm going to set this aside so much it doesn't fall over. Remove the center pin. It's got the wick and the coil in it, which is this. I'm going to drop the bottom piece that screws into the bottom of the tank in some warm water in the meantime. The parts I'm going to be using, about a 2-inch long piece of 2.5 millimeter silica wick. I have a 100-yard spool of 32 gauge 100-foot spool of 32 gauge Campa wire. This was really dirt cheap on Amazon. Look it up. A kind of medium-sized sewing needle, which is probably about the same thickness or width as a medium paper clip, so you could use either one, and I'll just show you. It's really easy to do it this way. It makes it hang on to everything much simpler. Alright, pair of hemostats or needleless pliers would work just fine. Now that I've got the center pin in my hand, I'm just going to pull the center plug out of the bottom. Set this aside so you don't lose this. Grab the hemostats and gently rock back and forth on the top piece to take the center post out. Be sure you don't lose the little silica cover that goes on there, plastic cover, rubber cover. Next, we gently pull out the center rubber gasket in the bottom of it. You can see it this way. I don't know what I mean here. Just gently pull on that, and that comes out. Set that aside. Actually, I like to give it a couple switches in some water in the meantime. Alright, and you can see the coils are pretty dark, pretty burnt up. I've had some Boba's Bounty in this one, that's why it is pretty dark all the way. And I'm just going to remove the wick. That was pretty nasty. Toss that in the trash can. And actually that was the flavor wick, and now here comes the coil wick, and you can see that's also pretty bad as well, so wish it would focus better, but hope you can see it. Trash for that. Gonna give my bottom coil a little water bath here real quick so it's I don't get all that nicotine all over me. Alright, like I said, I've got about a 2-inch piece of the silica wick. I'm going to take my sewing needle and just lay it, just long enough. I just need enough room for it to pinch my thumb on it, just to hang on to it, just to hold it, as long as it's covered. Leave enough room on this end, and I'll show you. We're going to use this as a tail, where I'll show you how to do this in a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take and leave about maybe an inch and a half leg on the bottom of this, that you can see hanging from the bottom. Hope you can see this. It's going to be the leg that's going to go through the bottom of the coil here when we're all finished. I'm going to wrap it I go 5 times, and I actually pull it relatively tight towards the wick, because by the time I'm done with this, when I pull out the needle, which I'll do at the very end, the wick will expand and cover up the gap, where you think would be too tight or choked off. It'll actually expand at that point and be just fine. I'm going to use a pair of very sharp needleless pliers or clippers to cut that off. Alright, now we have the base. It probably doesn't really matter which way you go about this, but I typically use the side closest to myself, to my body, the thumb side, as like the negative and positive. I always wrap this the same direction, and I also always put the same leg as the positive and the negative coil. I don't think it really matters, but just for my own sanity, that's the way I do it. When you lay the coil down inside, a thing to do to actually make it easier on you to hold all this stuff is gently put the center cap or the center post back in top of it. Don't worry about doing anything else with it yet. Just use it there to hold it there. It actually makes wrapping the coil so much easier at the end. And I'll show you that in a second. Actually, it would help if I had my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. All right. So now we have two legs sticking out. If you can see the legs on the inside, one on the outside. I'm going to take one post, thread the rubber grommet down inside of one, the actual one side of the coil is going to go inside the grommet, so you can see it sitting there. You should just drop it right on down inside that hole. And of course, sometimes you fight with it a little bit. This actually works very well if you actually dip it in some PG or VG in the meantime. And what I was saying about the having a needle, it actually gives you something to hang on to with your fingers. The coil won't drop back out of it. And of course, I'm fighting with it more than I should. But you'll get the idea. As long as you just gently push it in there. There we go. Finally got it. One side going in one direction, one side going the other, and I'm just going to shove it down until it seats properly. Give it a little tug, make sure it's nice and tight. Alright. Now, insert the bottom center tab here. This piece. Now it goes down inside the slot, which creates your positive and negative leads. Alright, got that down. I always make sure I have both leads leading the same direction as the needle. It just makes it easier to keep track of which one's going where. So you don't cross them actually. Gently and carefully clip it right as close to the post or as close to the frame. Of course that's going to happen on me. As close to the frame as you can get it. One side and the other side. And that'd be that. Now, before you remove the needle, and this is why I do it this way, if you take this part off, the center post back out again, the length of wick I've left over makes it easier to make your flavor wick. You just lay it over itself, basically like double wrapping it. Don't worry about how much you have left out of either side. Then, once I center it back in the coil here, I'll move my wire over a little bit. I'm just trying to straighten out the wire a little bit. And I hope you can see I've got there's 5 wraps in there. I don't know if it's going to focus or not, but I'm just going to control it. There you go. Now you can see it looks like I have one piece hitting the frame here a little bit. I'll straighten that up just a little bit. Get one slightly too close. There we go. That may be a little better. There we go. Now, take the length of wire or wick you have left over, lay it over the top, and then drop it back into place. Now that you've got this part tight, okay, now you can remove the needle, which you'll see here. I'll just slide the needle out, and this, having that cap in there makes it stay in your hand so much easier. It keeps it from flopping around a lot. You notice I haven't cut anything off yet. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and screw the base into the bottom, and I don't really care that I have lots of extra laying out here, because I'm going to fix that right now. Screw this in all the way, and all I do is kind of pull it out to the side, take my clippers and line it up kind of even with the frame. I don't know if you call it perpendicular, I suppose, and just cut it off flush with the side here. This is creating both your coil wick and your flavor wick. Just even on both sides. You see that? Now it's nice and short. Nice and short. Now, before we do anything else, let's get the voltmeter on it. Measure the resistance. I'll do from the center pin to here. And you can't see it. I'll show you here in a second. 2.5, 2.6 ohms. That is good enough for me. Now, put it in my bottle of Boba's Bounty here. Screw it back together. And let me check it on my ZMAX and see what the ZMAX says it is. Of course, hit the button twice. ZMAX 2.3 ohms is what it shows up as. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's 2.3. There you go. Just check your vape out. Not bad. The wick is still a little not saturated enough yet, so let me give it a second here. Boba's Bounty is wonderful. Hope that helps. Enjoy yourself. Happy vaping. And believe me, rebuilding wicks is cheap. Good luck, everybody.